Duel 2 concludes from Daytona National Speedway, and we see a much more chaotic Duel number 2 than Duel number 1, and a lot of crazies, a very crazy finish, and we see RFK sweep the Daytona Duels. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching Duel 2 from Daytona. I have to say the race was definitely better than Duel number 1. Let's jump into Duel number 2 from Daytona International Speedway. So, on the front row of Duel number 2, you would have Alex Bowman starting on the inside, and Eric Almirola will be starting on the Eric Almirola starting the inside, Alex Bowman starting on the inside, and Eric Almirola on the outside. And Alex Bowman actually is able to get the race lead. Then Joey Logano got the race lead for a second, and then we see Eric Almirola start slowing on the track. Meanwhile, Jacques Villeneuve was having electrical problems in the early portion of this race. And then we basically see back and forth between Jacques Villeneuve and Joey Logano and Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman actually lead the first 4 or 5 laps of this race, and Joey Logano got the race lead. And we would then see Austin Dillon get a really, really strong run and get the race lead. And then Chris Buescher was able to get the race lead at this point of the race. And then after a lot of good racing for about 15 or 16 laps, the field would decide to go single file. After a lot of aggression early portion of the race, the field would decide to go single file. And then on lap 26, we would see all the Toyotas decide to come down pit road. Kyle Busch, Mark Truex, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and Bubba Wallace and Corey LaJoie come out pit road. And actually, Denny Hamlin would actually, on coming off of turn number 4, he was been coming into pit road and would get a pit road penalty. We're going too fast on pit road. And he, unfortunately, would fall out of contention of having a good duel. But he was spinning to come off pit road. And luckily, there was not a caution that came out. I thought a caution was actually to come out for that situation. But we would not see a yellow come out in that duel. And then all the Chevys and Toyotas would all come down pit road. And in the end, Joey Logano was actually able to take the race lead. After all the pit stops happened, he was actually able to take the race lead. And he would dominate pretty much the next portion of this race. Chris Buescher had the lead for a while, and Joey Logano had the race lead. And then the aggression started picking up. Meanwhile, also, Jacques Villeneuve, he would get a pass-through penalty with around 20 laps ago, and around 15 laps ago, he came down pit road and decided to take behind the wall and took it behind the garage. Also, there was some contact as well between Austin Dillon and Ty Dillon, the Dillon brothers. There would be some contact between both those drivers, and they would basically get some damage, but unfortunately for them, they didn't get enough damage where they fell out of contention and fell out of this race. And then this race basically became a cat and mouse game between the 4 and 4th. It looked like Toyotas actually were catching up to them. Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Mark Truex, those guys. But unfortunately, once they got into that pack and got broken up around 10 to go, they unfortunately lost the draft. And unfortunately, they were not able to catch. So the race came down to 4 drivers: Joey Logano, Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, and Harrison Burton for the overall win in this race. And basically, it looked like Joey Logano was going to cruise the victory lane. Then Chris Buescher, 3 to go, tried to make a little bit of a move, but unfortunately was not able to make the run. And then on the last lap of the race, this is where the controversy came into play. Chris Buescher tries to make a move down to the inside. Joey Logano tries to throw a block onto Chris Buescher, and Joey Logano gets sideways trying to blow a block, trying to throw him to the inside, trying to make that block. And Joey Logano would cream back up into the racetrack, collect Harrison Burton, and basically he would wreck out and damage one of his only cars that he has at the track right now. And this would bring out the caution at the end of this race. Joey Logano get a ton of damage. Also, Harrison Burton would get a ton of damage as well. In my opinion, that situation was Joey Logano's fault. Joey Logano was way too aggressive on the last lap. I know he's trying to win, have a good run in the day, and getting a good start for the start of the year for the 500. But let's be real, Joey Logano should just let him go. The other guy was faster, and we didn't see a wreck in duel number 1, but we saw a wreck here in duel number 2. And also, in my opinion, as well, Joey Logano, earlier this week, he said this, I think, yesterday during media day. He literally said that he was going to go for the win, and you're too scared if you're too scared if you're not worried about wrecking your car in the 500. Well, this aged very well because Joey Logano pretty much wrecked his car, and will have to go to backup car. Now, like I said, luckily for them, they do have a backup car that is currently at the track right now, so they're in no bad shape. But in my opinion, Joey Logano's at fault for the situation. Because of this, it came down to Michael McDowell and Chris Buescher. They threw the caution in the race. So who won the race? Well, Chris Buescher would win in the 17 car, meaning that RFK swept the races here in duels. Brad Keselowski won duel number 1, and we would see Chris Buescher win duel number 2. RFK starting off the year very, very good. I don't know if the Busch Light Clash did not go very well for RFK, but they're starting off the year, especially on Super Speedways, very well. I think RFK, especially in their Super Speedway program, I think that they are going to be a very tough combination to be in this year's Super Speedway races. So keep an eye on those guys in the Daytona 500 as well. And Chris Buescher won the race, so huge congratulations for him. Let's now take a look at the results of today's race and then go to the thoughts. Chris Buescher wins the race. Michael McDowell finished second. Very strong run for Michael McDowell. Was in the top 5 and top 6 pretty much the whole entire race. Deserved to be up there. Gets a really strong run. McDowell definitely is an underdog to win the 500 again, considering he won it last year. I would definitely throw a lot of money on Michael McDowell because he was really good in this race. Harrison Burton finishes third. Really strong run for Harrison Burton. Unfortunately for Harrison Burton, though, he will have to most likely go to a backup car unless they can fix it overnight. He will have to go to a backup car as well. They do have a backup car, though, at the track as well. Wood Brothers does, so they're in good shape. They should have a backup car, and it should be okay. Kyle Busch finishes fourth. Pretty strong run for Kyle Busch. He'll start a little farther than Daytona 500. Good run for him. He finishes in fourth. Christobel finishes fifth, ran top 5. Good run for Christobel. Ran outside top 10 in points in the race, too. But a fifth place run for Christobel. Not a bad run. Mark Truex Jr. finished at 6th, solid top 10 run. Mark Truex Jr. did have some pretty good race pace, considering he did have good qualifying pace. We thought he probably wasn't going to have the best race pace, but good race pace for him. He finished at 6th. Bubba Wallace finishes in 7th. Good run for Bubba Wallace. Will be starting, I believe, around 15th or 16th in the Daytona 500. So good run for Bubba Wallace. He will start 7th. He will start around 14th, 15th in the 500 after a good run for him. I thought Bubba was going to be a little more aggressive in the duels, but I expect Bubba to be more aggressive in the Daytona 500. Good run for him. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished as 8th. Stenhouse is actually up front in the early portion, so he's contending with Chris Buescher early, but unfortunately fell out of contention out of the lead pack and fell out of contention, but he finishes in 8th. Joey Logano finishes 9th after his big crash on the last lap after dominating the second half of the race. Joey Logano crashed on the last lap, and he still comes across the line to finish 9th. Joey Logano, like I mentioned, will have to go to a backup car and will most likely have to start at the rear of the field despite finishing 9th, so Joey Logano will have to go to a backup car. Kevin Hart finished his 10th. I expected Hart to be a little bit better, but once he lost the draft, and it seems like the SHR cars, when they've lost the draft, they unfortunately ran out of contention in the race. So Kevin Hart, though, finishes in 10th. Corey LaJoie finishes 11th. Decent run for him. Will have a decent position. He really was never a contender, but an 11th place for him regardless. Not a bad run. Ty Dillon finishes 12th after that contact with Austin Dillon. Unfortunately, took him out of contention to be a contender's race. But a 12th place run, though, regardless. Good run for him. Greg Biffle finishes 13th, and guess what? Greg Biffle is going to race in this year's Daytona 500. NY Racing had issues in qualifying. Apparently, they had dash pad issues on their car. Luckily, they fixed those issues, and like I said, Greg Biffle is in this year's Daytona 500. Kaz Garland and Greg Biffle, the two drivers I thought were actually going to race the Daytona 500, they're able to race their way in. So Greg Biffle's in the Daytona 500. I'm so pumped up and so excited to see that Greg Biffle is back. Greg Biffle's got it done. They've got a good car. They did have some fuel issues on the first pit stop, but luckily they're already a lap or two ahead of Timmy Hill anyways. That it never became a problem. But a strong run from Greg Biffle, 13th. He'll actually start pretty far in the 500 as well. Alex Bowman finishes 14th. Alex Bowman dropped back because he knew he was going to start in the front row anyways. Didn't want to risk it. He finishes in 14th. Denny Hamlin, after his pit road excursion issues, he finishes in 15th. Cody Ware finished 16th. No show in the race. I expect him to probably be better in the 500, but was a no-show in this race. David Reagan finished 17th. Again, David Reagan was a no-show tonight. Austin Dillon, after his issues with Ty, he finishes in 18th. Eric Almirola, who's really, really slow, had no speed, finishes 19th. Timmy Hill finished 20th, and unfortunately for Timmy Hill, he will not race in this year's Daytona 500, and there definitely are concerns for MBM if they're going to show up after this race or not. He said that on Sirius XM NASCAR radio. He finishes 20th, and finishing last is Jacques Villeneuve, who will most likely start last in this year's Daytona 500. Will start 40. Yeah, will most likely start last in the Daytona 500. So that is the Daytona duels. Let's now go ahead and give you my score for the Daytona duels and overall review of the race. I thought the first 15, 20 laps are really, really aggressive and really, really exciting. Yeah, guys trying to go 3 wide, guys going 2 wide. And then around 16, 17 laps in the race, they decided to go single file, trying to conserve their stuff so they can make it to the end. And then the end of the race got extremely exciting. Kind of got strung out a little bit boring there in the middle. But near the end, it started getting really, really exciting, especially on that last lap. And I still say the last lap was really, really crazy. And like I mentioned with Joey Logano, Joey Logano said that he was going to be going for the win. Really didn't care. He said you're scared if you're not trying to win this race. He doesn't care if cars end up getting wrecked. So he basically became Dolores' favorite customer. But anyway, really pretty good race in my opinion. Duel number 2, definitely better than duel number 1. I'm going to give the score for duel number 2. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I thought duel number 2 was definitely better than duel number 1. Duel number 1 was not really that good. It was kind of boring, very straightforward. Didn't think we see a big wreck. I thought these guys were going to be aggressive, but of course, Joey Logano is the one that ends up being aggressive. So my score for duel number 2 is 9 out of 10. So anyway, that is going to be my race review for duel number 2 at Daytona. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications, be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's get you below over that and comment your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts about duel number 2 at Daytona? Let me know below. Let me know your score in the comments below. And congratulate Chris Buescher on winning duel number 2 at Daytona. It is Daytona. We've got a lot more content headed this way. You've got 2 videos dropping tomorrow. And we also got 2 videos dropping Saturday. And a lot of other really cool content that's on the way for you guys that I think you should definitely check out if you're new to the channel. But anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. And I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.